Hello and welcome to TVB News. The Audit Commission issued a new report which criticized the shortage of government dental clinic services in the city. The annual quota of appointment slots at the clinics has fallen from 40,000 to 20,000 in just 4 years. The Department of Health said the reduction was caused by the pandemic. Timothy Lee has our top story.
Having a toothache is worse than a serious illness. It's a common saying in Hong Kong. Due to the long queuing time for government dental clinics, many had to resort to private dentists. It's a problem that's been a source of frustration for residents. This person said people have trouble eating or sleeping because of toothaches, and those who can't afford treatment need to borrow money. While this woman said she would go to dental clinics in Shenzhen instead because of the long waiting time in the city. Hong Kong currently has 11 government dental clinics providing emergency services. This clinic in Kennedy Town offers 42 appointment slots per day on Monday and Friday, while this one in Kowloon City offers 42 and 21 slots on Mondays and Thursdays respectively. This, as the latest Audit Commission report indicated, government dental clinics have reduced the number of appointment slots from some 40,000 in the 2018-19 financial year to around 20,000 in the 2022-23 period. The Department of Health said the cause of the drop was the need for staff during the pandemic. The government auditor noted that patients had to queue for around 7 hours at some clinics for appointment slots. The body suggested such clinics to review their appointment system and return the quantity of service to pre-pandemic levels. Meanwhile, a former president of the Hong Kong Dental Association pointed to challenges facing local dentists.
With more communication with the mainland, there is a lot of advertisement from the mainland China, and then to advocate people that to seek for dental treatment in the mainland. And I think to a certain extent that the dental business of the private sector in Hong Kong is affected. At the moment, the private market sector is a bit quiet than before. We will assume that more dental graduates from the Class 24 may join the government dental service.
Dr. Liu said many in the dental industry do not oppose the government's implementation of limited registration for overseas dentists, which will allow them to work more easily in the city. He noted the sector believes the move will help alleviate the city's dentist manpower shortage problem. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Shanghai today at the start of his 3-day trip to China. Blinken will be meeting senior Chinese officials for discussions on a number of unresolved issues that have caused tension between the two countries. It's the latest high-level contact between the U.S. and China after a visit by Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and a phone call between President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden. Blinken will meet business leaders in Shanghai before heading to Beijing on Friday for talks with his counterpart, Wang Yi. The top U.S. diplomat is expected to press China to stop their companies from assisting Russia's defense needs. A senior U.S. State Department official said Blinken will raise clearly and candidly our concerns during the talks. The United Nations Human Rights Chief is calling for an independent, transparent investigation into mass graves found in and around the hospitals in Gaza. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk condemned Israel in a statement on Tuesday after more than 300 bodies were uncovered near the destroyed Nasser hospital in southern Gaza. The U.S. State Department said reports of a mass grave were troubling. This as Israel steps up airstrikes on Rafah, where 1.5 million people are sheltering ahead of a looming ground offensive. The Israeli military has ordered residents in the northern Gaza Strip to evacuate urgently ahead of a new planned onslaught in the area. An IDF spokesman said residents were in a dangerous combat zone, with the military set to act with great force against Hamas infrastructure. With the war 200 days old, the Palestinian death toll in Gaza has risen to almost 34,200. Hundreds of people in Tel Aviv staged a protest to mark the occasion, calling for a deal to free hostages amid stalled ceasefire talks. The number of pro-Palestinian protests is growing on university campuses across the United States as more student arrests are made. And there is growing concern about anti-Semitic rhetoric. NBC has more.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Clashes and arrests from the streets of New York to the University of Minnesota to Cal Poly Humboldt. As more universities crack down on pro-Palestinian protests, citing safety concerns and anti-Semitic rhetoric. Pro-Palestinian encampments now across more than a dozen campuses, as students call for universities to divest from companies connected to Israel.
We're paying a lot of tuition to be here. We want to know where our money is going. We want to know where the investments are going as students.
Overnight at New York University, police say 120 protesters were taken away in zip ties. 116 were released with summons for trespass, including assistant professor Zach Samelin.
Did you have the opportunity to leave?
I did have the opportunity to leave, yes, but what I did instead was I linked arms with my colleagues on the faculty of New York University in order to protect our students from the police.
The university said many of the protesters were not affiliated with the school and that they'd witnessed disorderly, disruptive, and antagonizing behavior, pointing to intimidating chants and several anti-Semitic incidents reported. The days of protests following congressional testimony from Colombia's president, creating a new flashpoint between free speech and hate speech.
Why do you believe they stopped this protest?
NYU has been engaged in a campaign of repressing pro-Palestinian speech for 7 months. That is, I'm unequivocal about that.
Students insisting the protest was peaceful. Today, with the NYU Business School barricaded, students gathered in nearby Washington Square Park.
It's really frustrating because they say they're for free speech and they say they're for academic freedom.
At nearby Columbia University, classes are being offered online the rest of the year. The pro-Palestinian encampment still standing following last week's mass arrests.
It's not safe.
Associate Professor Hagar Shamali says the university needs to do more for Jewish students to feel safe.
It shouldn't be that we have to shut down classes and go virtual and force us to stay home and encourage Jewish students to stay home because the protesters have created an unsafe environment. It should be the other way around.
Meanwhile, U.S. House Republicans demanding Colombia's president resign immediately for failing to crack down.
The U.S. Senate has passed $95 billion in war aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. It marks the end of months of furious debate on U.S. involvement in foreign wars, with the Pentagon expected to rush new weapons to the front lines of Ukraine's war with Russia. U.S. President Joe Biden said Congress has answered history's call at a critical inflection point after the Senate voted 79-18 in favor of the bill. Republicans helped the House of Representatives on Saturday pass the bill before it came to the Senate. Nazvi Karim has more.
It's a reflection of Russia's ascendancy in the war. But more U.S. hardware is on the way to the front lines. After the Senate late on Tuesday passed a bill that includes $61 billion in military aid for Ukraine, the Pentagon says new air defense systems and ammunition could be delivered to the battlefield within days. Already $1 billion of the package is ready to be sent once U.S. President Joe Biden signs a bill into law on Wednesday.
After more than 6 months of hard work, many twists and turns in the road, America sends a message to the entire world. We will not turn our back on you. We tell our allies, we stand with you. We tell our adversaries, don't mess with us. We tell the world we will do everything to defend democracy and our way of life.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in a social media post, praised the U.S. as the leader of the free world. Republicans opposed the package, saying the U.S. should instead focus on surging migrants at the Mexico border. The GOP Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell was among those who supported the bill.
This is an important day for America and a very important day for freedom-loving countries around the world. And one of the good things that's come out of this, it seems to me, is we've paid attention to the facts, underfunding defense, the importance of standing up for our friends, that we can't sort of hide out in isolation here in the hopes that they'll give up on us if we give up on them.
The U.S. Senate passed legislation Tuesday that would force TikTok's China-based parent company ByteDance to sell the social media platform under the threat of a ban in the United States. TikTok had earlier vowed to file a court challenge. The bill will also disrupt the lives of content creators who rely on the platform for income. Tracy Furness has more.
Yeas are 79. The nays are 18. The motion to concur in the House amendment to the Senate amendment to H.R. 815 is agreed to.
With this U.S. Senate vote, the bill to ban TikTok in the United States is one step further to becoming reality. Chinese company ByteDance, which owns TikTok, has to divest the popular short video app within the year if it's to keep its 170 million U.S. users. U.S. lawmakers are worried that Chinese authorities could access the data of Americans who use the app. TikTok says it has not and would not share U.S. user data with the Chinese government. The bill passed by the U.S. House of Representatives last Saturday, and U.S. President Joe Biden is set to sign the bill into law Wednesday. TikTok is set to challenge the bill on First Amendment grounds, and U.S. TikTok users are also expected to take legal action again. A U.S. judge in Montana blocked a state ban of the app last November, citing free speech grounds. The TikTok bill is attached to a $95 billion foreign aid package. In 2020, then President Donald Trump was blocked by the courts in his bid to block TikTok and Chinese-owned WeChat in the United States. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Still ahead, 3 Chinese astronauts set to embark on the Shenzhou 18 manned space mission tomorrow. And the 1,000-hand Guanyin dance performed by people with disabilities. Welcome back. Speaking during a visit to Italy, British Home Secretary James Cleverly hailed the UK's migrant deportation deal with Rwanda as a new and creative deterrent to an old and growing problem. However, he stressed Westminster is taking criticism of the policy by the UN Refugee Agency seriously. Daniel Rowell tells us more.
British Home Secretary James Cleverly's visit to Italy came hours after Westminster approved legislation to enable the government to deport some people who enter the UK illegally to Rwanda. The deal in which Britain will pay Rwanda to process the migrants is aimed at deterring people from crossing the English Channel from France and clamping down on human trafficking. The Rwandan government welcomed approval of the bill, saying it underscores the work it has done to make Rwanda safe and secure since the genocide that ravaged the country 30 years ago. However, human rights groups have said the deal violates the rights of migrants that are enshrined in international refugee conventions. On Tuesday, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees said the UK-Rwanda deal is not compatible with international refugee law because it uses an asylum model that undermines global solidarity and the established international refugee protection system. Cleverly defended the deal as a necessary response to a problem that has outgrown the international institutional way of processing migrants, but added he is taking the UNCHR criticism seriously.
Of course I will look at what they're saying. We don't... I will look at the evidence base the UNHCR put forward. Of course we will. Respect the UN enormously.
Cleverly also called the drowning of another 5 people trying to cross to the UK heartbreaking news. Earlier on Tuesday, French authorities report at least 5 people died when the engine of a boat overloaded with more than 100 migrants stopped a few hundred meters off the coast of Pas-de-Calais, and some people fell into the water. Rescuers picked up 49 people, but 58 others who remained on board the vessel refused to disembark and continued on towards Britain. Daniel Rowell, TV News.
Hong Kong Tramways currently has about 150,000 passengers per day. The company's managing director, Paul Tervodi, said the firm is taking initiatives to improve the tram's accessibility for passengers as there are steps to enter the vehicle. He said the company has reviewed the design of the new generations of trams to make it more user-friendly, especially for the elderly. This includes installing devices to help them get into the trams. The company is working with the Transport Department and the Highways Department to improve some tram stops' accessibility, especially for the elderly and people with disabilities. Guanyin with 1,000 hands is considered one of the most beautiful stories in Chinese culture. A group of mainland performers with hearing and sight disabilities is bringing to Hong Kong for the first time a new musical show that also features art from Dunhuang in Gansu province. The organizer hopes the show will bring positive energy to the city. Sakura Ip was at the rehearsal.
From a mural painting in Dunhuang's Morgao Cave, the thousand-handed, thousand-eyed Bodhisattva has come alive on stage. These are dancers with hearing disabilities from the China Disabled People's Performing Arts Troupe. Disability is no barrier to the precise dance steps, perfectly synchronized to the music.
我们在训练的过程中呢，
Tai Lihua, president and art director of the troupe, revealed that the deaf dancers are trained to memorize music by feeling the rhythm from vibration emanating from loudspeakers. They visualize the musical notes and tempo thanks to sign language interpreters on the side of the stage. She said the performance is an opportunity for the disabled artists to build confidence. Besides deaf dancers, the troupe also includes musicians with sight disability. Over the past 37 years, the troupe has performed in 103 countries and regions. It debuted at the CCTV New Year's Gala in 2005. They were also featured in the closing ceremony of the Beijing 2008 Paralympic Games. This year, the troupe has brought its new musical show, 1,000 Arms and 1,000 Eyes, to the Jockey Club Auditorium of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. The organizer hopes the show would bring positive energy to the society.
I believe culture is the heart and soul of a country. I hope this wonderful show can bring new experience and inspiration to the people of Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area, and make them more aware of the importance of the artistic tradition of our country.
The troupe will head to Zhuhai for the next performance on Friday. Sakura, TVB News.
China's Shenzhou 18 manned spaceship will be launched at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center tomorrow night. The spaceship will carry 3 astronauts who will stay on board the Tiangong space station for 6 months. Mimo Singhai reports.
These are the 3 astronauts who will embark on their Shenzhou 18 manned space mission tomorrow. The mission commander, 43-year-old Ye Guofu, was part of the 2021 Shenzhou 13 mission. He previously played a musical instrument in space. Li Chong, aged 34, is the youngest amongst the 3, while Li Guangsu is 2 years older. The two are among China's 3rd batch of astronauts and will carry out a spaceflight mission for the first time. While this is Ye's 2nd Shenzhou mission, he mentioned the differences between the 2 tasks.
My dream came true. For this time, as the commander, I shouldered more responsibilities under a bigger pressure. The crew task, every time there are new missions on the list. For my 2nd time to space, it's a new start. We should also work together as a team.
The youngest astronaut, Li Chong, said the 3 crew members have many things in common.
We had a lot of similarities in terms of age, background, but also we share the same mission.
Li Guangsu, meanwhile, talked about what he anticipates.
Cannot wait to experience the weightless experience. There is no wings, but I still can fly. What a great experience for me.
The trio will meet the Shenzhou 17 crew at the Tiangong space station for a crew rotation. The Shenzhou 17 crew will return to Earth by the end of this month. The new crew aboard the space station will conduct more than 90 experiments during their 6-month stay in space. One of the experiments will be China's first in-orbit aquatic ecological research project, with zebrafish and goldfish algae being used to establish a self-cycling aquatic ecosystem in orbit. It's hoped that the project will achieve a breakthrough in the growth of vertebrates in space. The team who handles the experiment said zebrafish is chosen because some of their genes are similar to humans. Meanwhile, the China Manned Space Agency said the selection of the fourth batch of astronauts will soon be completed, including the selection of payload specialists from Hong Kong and Macau. Deputy Director of the agency, Lin Xinqian, said the fourth batch of astronauts will work with other crew members to take part in the following up space station missions. In November last year, Lin led the China Manned Space Agency delegation to Hong Kong. He said he hoped new space science and applied science projects suggested by Hong Kong and Macau institutions can be conducted at the Tiangong Space Station in the future. Musin, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.